Greetings and welcome to the channel. This is Mikhailov from Team Retro, where we like retro games and the devices that bring them to us. A few weeks ago, I did a video on alternatives to the hard-to-find PlayStation Portal. After completing that video, I was further inspired to create a dedicated handheld especially for Sony content. As I was sitting here trying to decide what device to use, a company called Handheld DIY reached out to me and offered to send me some physical mods for the ROG Ally. As I had just purchased a Z1 model on sale at Best Buy, and since I will also be purchasing an ROG Ally X, I went ahead and accepted this offer and set out to turn my ROG Ally into a better PlayStation Portal. This video will showcase that process. And so without further delay, let's dive in and get to work. So let's start this mod with the buttons. I went with DualShock 4 style buttons from Sakura Retro Modding. I did buy these buttons with my own money and I installed them off camera. I will tell you, it was a royal pain because of how the ROG Ally is designed. Most handhelds will connect the main motherboard to separate daughter boards, meaning you don't have to take the whole system apart in order to access the buttons or the D-pad. With the Ally, most everything is just one piece. So you need to remove the battery and then the entire motherboard to swap out those buttons. Even though I didn't record it, I followed Raven Mage's teardown article on retro handhelds in order to swap out these buttons. I'll link this article in the description in case you need help tearing down the unit to swap the buttons. Now let's go ahead and unbox the Handheld DIY mod case. And we'll do a couple of quick comparisons to the original case. The first thing you'll notice is that there is no textured backing over by the grips on the end. This isn't a deal breaker, but it definitely feels a little cheaper. You're also removing all of that Asus ROG branding. The cooling pattern is also very different looking, and this allegedly helps to keep the unit temps down. Of course, we have to test this theory, so how are we gonna do that? We're gonna drive down to Walmart, and we're gonna grab ourselves an infrared temp gun. And we're gonna name this tool Red. So according to Red, running Starfield on 25 watts performance mode at 120 Hz for about 10 minutes will show about 35 to 40 degrees Celsius right by the cooling vents, and on screen, the system is registering that it's at 82 degrees Celsius. Under the same settings, the new case registers very similar temps across the board, but on screen, the system is registering 84 degrees Celsius. I personally didn't see a difference in temperatures between the two cases, but this testing that I did is a limited test on whether or not this case adds to the active cooling. However, on its own, the ROG Ally in silent mode, playing lightweight games, stays cool and silent anyway, so I would argue that the cooling system in this device is already pretty good, and I wouldn't get this case specifically for enhanced cooling options. Handheld DIY also sent over these flat buttons to replace the back M1 and M2 buttons on the unit, so we're going to go ahead and install those as well. Let's remove the back plate off the ROG Ally. Now, we're going to need the springs off the original buttons in order to put these new buttons on. So we're going to remove this solitary screw, and we're going to save that as well as the spring below it. The new buttons also come with silicone plus shaped pads to put on top of this plastic piece. They come in 4 different heights from 0.1 to 0.4 millimeters, and you simply need to pick the one you're most comfortable with when actuating those buttons. I went with the 0.4 millimeters, and this feels much better than the stock buttons, and I don't accidentally press them anymore. Now, let's take the L2 and R2 buttons off the original backplate. These are held in place with 2 screws each. Just be careful when removing them. I was a little less than graceful, and I accidentally broke off one of the plastic posts that the button rests on. Thankfully, that isn't the case with the new backplate, so we could just reinstall L2 and R2 there. And there's also a silicone sticky pad that goes right in the middle of the exhaust to allegedly help with cooling. You just have to take it out of the bag and plop it right in the middle. Handheld DIY sent me a nameplate and a cover for the XG mobile slot. So let's check those out next. So guess what I did? I forgot to hit record before changing the nameplate. So I kind of have to do this anecdotally, but I can show you that there's a small hole where the nameplate resides. Simply poking something in that hole will cause the nameplate to detach from the backplate. Then you could simply stick the new nameplate on with the supplied 3M tape adhered to the back. So now let's bundle everything up and let's take a look at the modification. The main reason I like this replacement backplate is because not only does it have a built-in kickstand, but it also opens up the middle section between the exhaust vents for additional customization. I have seen pictures of some crazy customizations like heat sinks and external cooling fans. We're not gonna go crazy and do anything like that because the focus here is making a PlayStation ROG Ally. So I know exactly what to do. There we go, a PlayStation sticker. The illusion is complete. Finally, we could slide this XG mobile port cover right into the top of the device, and you'll still be able to access the USB port without getting dust in that XG mobile port. Now that our modification is complete, let's do a quick software tweak using Handheld Companion. And all we're really going to do with that is we're going to trick the ROG Ally into thinking the built-in controller is a DualShock 4 so that when we go into Steam Big Picture, we could see PlayStation button icons instead of Microsoft ones. This also has an added effect of triggering the correct button glyphs on games that recognize what controller you have plugged in. Dave the Diver is one such game that will automatically switch to PS button icons. Other games, such as Monster Hunter World and Final Fantasy XIV, give you the option to change the button glyphs within the game settings, so if you're the type of person who wants the proper button glyphs on the game to match the ones on your device, there are options out there for you. Now, to showcase some Sony games that function very well on the ROG Ally, starting with my favorite PlayStation 1 game, Brave Fencer Musashi. This game has a great soundtrack as well as some fun gameplay and a decent story. And we can play this at a 5x resolution and still get a full frame rate. The PSP also runs just as well at a 4x resolution, and even demanding games like God of War will function very well. However, I recommend you try out Half Minute Hero. This is my favorite PSP game. You have to save the world within 30 seconds, and you're able to turn back time in order to keep trying. I love this gameplay, and this game was only released on the PSP, never seeing another version outside of this system. PlayStation 2 was not a system I really owned when I was younger, but there are several games I always wanted to try, like this one, Simpsons Hit and Run. We could run this game at a 3x resolution on standard mode and still get good performance. PS3 is a lot harder to emulate on the less powerful Z1, but at a native resolution, in performance mode, we could get some of the less demanding games such as Turtles in Time Reshelled and Super Street Fighter II HD Turbo, two games which are unfortunately locked to the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. Since we have PlayStation buttons and a PlayStation sticker, we're going to play the PlayStation versions here. And finally, we'll play some Final Fantasy XVI using PS5 Remote Play with the new PS Play application. We could drop the Ally into silent mode and enjoy this game remotely over a local or internet connection. And there we have it. We took our inexpensive ROG Ally Z1, and with the help of Handheld DIY and with a quick purchase from Sakura Retro Modding, we turned it into an unofficial Sony powerhouse. Even though I plan on getting the Ally X, I intend to keep this around whenever I get the bug to play some PlayStation. And thanks again to Handheld DIY for providing most of the materials for this modification. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Would you ever do a mod like this on your ROG Ally, or are you just patiently waiting for the Ally X? And please feel free to continue the conversation on the Retro Handhelds and Steam Machine Discords, where you could find me hanging out in between videos. And if you want to support the show like these wonderful people here on the screen, you can do so by going to my Patreon page. Links for all these places are in the description. But that will do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and please be sure to like and subscribe if this video was helpful to you in any way. Every smash of that button helps the channel grow and allows me to get more content out to you. Until next time, bye for now, and don't stop believing.